Hi, Chris. Are you at least
Yo,
18?
how's it going, man?
It's going okay. Are you at least 18?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What God do you believe in?
Jesus.
Cool. What's the best argument or evidence that provides rational justification to believe that the Christian God exists?
All right, so the best evidence I could give you. Do you know of the Shroud of Turin?
Yeah, I'm aware of the Reg of Turin.
You know about it?
Yeah, I know about that forgery. Yeah.
So, okay, since you say it's a forgery, explain
Well,
to me
well,
how
the
it's a forgery.
Catholic Church said it was a forgery.
I'm not Catholic. Just
I don't care.
the
It was discovered by the Catholic and brought to the Catholic Church, and the response of the Church at the time was, "This is a forgery." This is back in like the 1300s, and it was known to be a forgery then, and it has been known since then the entire time to be a forgery.
well, there is new studies, forensic analysis.
Yeah, sure. When was it done?
Recently,
Yeah.
like
What do you mean
honestly,
recently?
I couldn't give you the exact date,
Yeah, I know you
but
couldn't because you're lying.
I'm not lying though.
Oh, okay. So
Trust.
when was it
I mean,
done?
all right, you got me.
Yeah, I
I'm gonna
did
be
get
honest.
you because it's
You
bullshit.
got me.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
trust me. It's not.
Oh,
But
it's not. Oh, I didn't think of. It's just true because it's true. Oh my God. Why? Oh, now I'm a Christian. Come on, man. Do you have an argument? Do you have evidence, or do you just have bullshit?
well, if you're not gonna accept the argument, you could just
Yeah, I'm not going to let you pass a forgery off as something real. We all know it's a forgery. If you have evidence to suggest it's not a forgery, let me see it.
well, how okay. How about this? Since I didn't come prepared, I'm gonna be honest, I did not come prepared for this. This is just kind of on a whim. How about you give me like how often do you do this live?
I mean, I try to go off live as often as I can. I'm still fairly new to this though. So,
Okay, I'll give you a follow. Just give me some time
do you want me to give an
and
argument for why I think that there can't be a God?
yeah, I'll hear your argument, but
Okay.
like
All
like I
right.
said, just give me some time and I'll come next time if you remember me. I'll request again and I'll try to explain to you about this shroud and maybe I'll have some other arguments that you know.
Okay. Are you willing to engage with my argument?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Um, do you believe that God is the ultimate being?
Yes.
Fantastic. So we're going to get rid of all that, and then we're going to go. Um, so my first premise. Oh, this is the one that I want. My first premise here is just going to be change always existed. Do you agree?
Change always existed. That's a great question.
Okay.
For now, I'll say. Um, what were you gonna say? Something?
Oh, I was just going to ask if you want me to give you reasons why I think you should believe this.
Yeah, give me some reasons. Give me some reasons.
Cool. Do you have like headphones or something? Like there's a weird like echo feeding back.
No, I don't.
Okay. I don't know if you can like swipe away and then come right back. Like I don't know if you like I don't know what kind of phone you have. Like on an Android, it would just be like the three lines or the square button or whatever that like puts it back and then you come back into the app, or like you go to a different app or something and then come back. Usually, sometimes that can help. I don't know. Whatever. I'm rambling. We'll just give the argument. So defense of that premise. Okay. So here's what I'm going to say. Um, uh, okay. So in order to motivate this premise that change always existed, what we're going to do is we'll just get um, move this down and we'll go my new premise one to support this other premise. If change begins to exist, then a changeless state changes, right?
Okay. Yes.
Yep. So I'll just throw this entire argument up here. If change begins to exist, then a changeless state changes. Obviously, a changeless state cannot change. That's a contradiction. If change cannot begin to exist because a changeless state can't change, then that means it always existed, and so change always existed.
Honestly, I'm getting a little confused
Yeah,
here.
sure. So let's say that for the first premise, what we're saying is that, for the first premise, what we're saying is that if there was a point in a state of existence where change began to exist, that means that prior to change beginning to exist, there was a state of existence that did not change. It was a changeless state of existence, right? If change doesn't exist, then existence is changeless, right?
Right.
Okay. And if existence is changeless, then a property of being changeless is the inability to change. I mean, literally, that's the definition. So it would be analytically true that a changeless state cannot change, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so if a changeless state has to change in order for change to begin, and we know that changeless states can't change, then that means that change can't begin, right? And if it can't begin, then that means that it always existed. If it exists now and it never began to exist, that means that it always existed infinitely. So we can say that change has infinitely existed as a conclusion from the rest of these premises. Does that make sense?
So change has always existed.
Yeah, it's necessary just from the concept of what would be, because again, like you would have to invoke a contradiction in order for change to begin to exist. So obviously it's not possible for change to begin to exist because contradictions are not true, right?
Right.
Okay. So if we come from change always existed, what I'm going to say next is if change always existed, time always existed. The reason I'm saying that is that time is simply a measurement of change. So it's basically just like a synonym for change. If change always existed and time is just, how we talk about change, time always existed, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And if time always existed, then that means God didn't create it, right? Something that has always existed can't be created. Right?
I don't know. If time always existed, then I'm gonna have to disagree, honestly.
So you're saying that something that has always existed could be brought into existence? When I say create, I mean bring into existence, right? So in order for something to be created, that means it must go from not existing to existing, right? And if time always existed, then that means there was never a state of existence where time wasn't a part of that state of existence. And that means that it wouldn't have been possible to bring time into existence, right? So if time always existed, God did not create it. Does that make sense?
Well, okay, let me give you an analogy. So if they're a game developer, right? He creates this game. The time of the game, it didn't exist until he created it.
Right, but that developer had to be in a time in order to take the actions to make the game. So then that would, if this analogy holds to God, then that means that God would have to be in his own timeline in order to create this universe, which means God is in time, which means God didn't create time. So in your analogy, God couldn't have created time because time would have to already exist for God to exist inside of it.
But who said God has to be constrained by something like time?
That's fine. I'm not saying God has to be constrained by time. You're trying to give an argument for why this third premise isn't correct, and I'm telling you that your argument didn't work. So do you accept this premise, or do you have a different reason why you don't want to accept it?
Like the premise that God is... What is the... Okay, can you water down the first premise just a little bit again?
Which one? Change always existed?
No, okay, change always existed, but how does this go in line with God or disproving God?
Yeah, we're getting there. I'm just asking you to engage with the argument. So we can go premise by premise. I think I have two premises left? Yeah, I have 2 premises left. So our third one here, third of 5, is that if time always existed, then God did not create it. If you want me to break this out so it's a little bit easier, we could make this into 2 premises, and we could say if time always existed, then it wasn't created. And then we would say a new 4th premise, if time wasn't created, then God did not create it. Does that make it a little bit clearer?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you agree that if time always existed, it wasn't created?
Yeah.
Okay.
If time always existed, then yeah, it wouldn't have been created.
Absolutely. And if time wasn't created, then obviously God didn't create it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So then my next premise is going to be we'll change this to a 5 now. If God did not create time, then God is not an ultimate being, because obviously an ultimate being would be the source of everything. If God's not the source of time, then God's not an ultimate being, right?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. If God does exist, then God is an ultimate being. God is the source of everything if God exists. So what we know, because we now know that God cannot be the ultimate being, is that God does not exist. Because if God did exist, it would be the ultimate being. It can't be the ultimate being, so it cannot exist.
But okay, according to this premise, how can God not be the ultimate being? Like,
Yeah, because what we've done,
I'm not really.
yeah, what we've shown is that God is a contradiction, right? In order to, you and I, because we both agree with the logic behind my first premise that change always existed, that we can walk from that concept all the way to God being a contradiction, right? Because what we're saying is that here's an easier way to put this. If God did not create time, then God is not an ultimate being. If we said here God is an ultimate being, we would see then that our conclusion would end up being God is not an ultimate being and God is an ultimate being. That's a contradiction. That's P and not P, right? It's saying the proposition God is an ultimate being is both true and not true. That's what agreeing to the premise change has always existed commits you to the position that God is not an ultimate being. So if you also believe that God is an ultimate being, you have to believe in a contradiction. But we know contradictions cannot be true, so we know that the only possible true value of the proposition God is an ultimate being is that it's false, because of the law of non-contradiction. Anytime you have a statement that says P, like P and not P, right? Oh God, I cannot type. If we try to make this into one sentence here, this sentence can never be true, right? And so if we change P for God is an ultimate being and not P would be God is not an ultimate being, we know that that statement cannot possibly be true. But this argument that I've just given shows that if you believe God is an ultimate being, you're then committed to the position that God is an ultimate being and God is not an ultimate being, which again is a contradiction. It cannot possibly be true. Do you have a refutation for any of the premises?
Honestly, bro, no.
Okay.
I don't.
Welcome to atheism. Thanks for the time, and I hope you have a good one.
Hey, and like I said, I'll come back with some sharper arguments.
Well, I mean,
God
you can
bless,
try,
bro.
but we just proved God doesn't exist, so I don't know why you would. But yeah, if you want to, feel free.
All right, bro.
See ya.